There is a shelf in my cellar that is bare this morning. First week of August, nothing on it but dust and the rings the jars left last year. By the end of October, that shelf will hold most of what this family eats all winter, and on a cold Sunday at the end of March, when there is not one thing growing in a garden anywhere in Pennsylvania, Esther will go down these steps with a lamp and come back up with supper in her arms. Not out of a store, not out of a freezer. Off that shelf, out of a crock in the corner, and off a string of green beans hanging behind the kitchen stove. Now, here is what the first week of August looks like in most houses in this country. The counter is covered in tomatoes coming ripe faster than anybody can eat them. There are more cucumbers on the vine than 3 families could get through. The beans came on all at once, the way beans do, and by Friday half of it has gone soft and the rest goes out to the compost heap, and everybody says the same thing. I hate to waste it, but what am I going to do with all of it? Then February comes and that same kitchen buys beans in a can that were grown on another continent. The garden gave you everything at one time and you had no place to put it. By the time we are done here, you will know the 15 things we put up, which month each one goes up, which method each one takes, and why the method is not a matter of preference, and the piece almost nobody bothers to tell you. The order they come back off the shelf. That order is the whole business. Get it wrong, and you eat well in November and stare at empty boards in February. My name is Gideon Riehl. I have lived in Lancaster County the whole of my 65 years, and I have carried the canner up out of the cellar every August since I was big enough to lift it alone. I have split wood for the kettle while my mother stirred apple butter from breakfast until dark. I have hung beans on a string behind that stove with my own hands and eaten them in March. So stay with me, because 2 things here matter more than the rest. The first is a rule I will not soften for anybody. There is a jar on this list that can kill a person if it is put up the easy way. And the easy way is exactly the way most folks reach for. The second is the oddest thing in my kitchen, and I have never once seen it in a store. Whole green beans, threaded on a thread like beads, hanging in the warm air behind the stove for 3 weeks. That one came over from Germany with our people, and it does not taste like beans at all. Let me give the plain reason this got set down, and there is no villain in it worth naming. The freezer came. A chest freezer takes an afternoon of work and turns it into 20 minutes, and once a family has one, all of this looks like labor for nothing. Nobody is out selling lessons in a pressure canner either. There is money in selling you the beans in February, and none at all in teaching you to put your own up in August. So one generation stopped, the next never watched it done, and now a woman of 30 who wants to learn has nobody at the kitchen table to ask. I will grant the freezer this much. It is easier and it is the right thing for meat, and I am not going to pretend otherwise. But it runs on a line coming into your house from somewhere else. The ice storm 2 winters back had our neighbors dark for 6 days. A jar does not care, and neither does a crock. One more thing before the list, and it is a matter of being straight with you. This does not all happen in August. It starts in August, and it does not finish until the frost. August is the kitchen, the canner going, the crock filling, the fruit coming in faster than you can handle it. September and October is the drying, and then the digging, and the cellar itself does not fill until the ground has cooled. If anybody tells you they laid up a whole winter in 1 week in August, they have never done it. It comes in 3 waves. Jars first, then the crock and the string, then the cellar last of all. Before the first jar, the rule. Everything you put in a jar falls on one side or the other of a line, and the line is how sour it is. 4.6 on the acid scale. Below that line, sourer than that, a boiling water bath is enough, because the spores that make the poison we are worried about cannot grow in acid that strong. Above the line, in anything mild, those same spores can wake up inside a sealed jar with no air in it and make the strongest natural poison there is, and you will not see it, smell it, or taste it. Boiling water tops out at 212 degrees, and that does not touch a spore. Only a pressure canner reaches 240, 250 degrees, and that is the temperature that kills it. Home canned vegetables are the leading cause of that poisoning in this country, and it is nearly always the same story. A mild vegetable run through a boiling pot because that was the pot already on the stove. So here it is in 4 words. Not pickled means pressure. Beans, corn, carrots, beets, plain squash, anything mild going into a jar with no vinegar in it goes in the pressure canner, or it does not get put up at all. That is the one thing this morning I will not bend on. Number 1, tomatoes, and they are the reason August exists in our kitchen. Tomatoes go in a boiling water bath, and every quart jar gets 2 tablespoons of bottled lemon juice stirred in before the lid goes on, or half a teaspoon of citric acid, which is what we mostly use because it carries no taste with it. Pints get half of that. Now, a good many folks will tell you their grandmother never added a thing, and here is what changed. A tomato sits right on the edge of that line. Some sit just under it, and some just over. And the varieties grown now, the big meaty ones, the sweet low-acid ones, sit nearer the wrong side than what my mother grew. You cannot tell by tasting which one is in your hand. So the acid goes in every jar, and you never have to know. 2 tablespoons. It costs pennies, and it settles the question for good. Number 2 is green beans, and this is the jar I warned you about. A bean is mild. There is no acid in it to speak of. Green beans go in the pressure canner, at pressure, for the full time, and there is no version of this where a boiling pot will do. Not with a longer boil, not with salt added, not because it came out fine last year. This is the most common way careful people in clean kitchens poison their own families. Number 3 is cucumbers, and set the 2 of them side by side, because the pair teaches the whole lesson better than I can say it. Cucumbers take a vinegar brine and a boiling water bath, and that is perfectly safe. Why the difference? Because the acid is not in the cucumber. The acid is in the vinegar you poured over it. Pickling is taking a mild thing and making it sour on purpose, with acid borrowed out of a bottle. Once you see that, you never have to memorize a list again. You only have to ask the jar where its acid is coming from. Number 4 is chow chow, and if you did not grow up around here, you may never have heard of it. It is a sweet sour relish, Pennsylvania Dutch as they come, and it exists for one reason. August leaves ends. A handful of beans, 6 little cucumbers, half a row of cabbage, a few peppers, the last of the corn, and the onions that got bruised in the digging and will not keep. Not enough of any one of them to be worth heating a canner for, so it is all cut to the same size. It all goes into one sweet vinegar syrup, and it comes out one jar. It is pickled, so the bath is right for it. Number 5 is red beet eggs, and here I have to stop you, because this is the one thing on the list that does not go on the shelf. The beets and the eggs come in the same week, and they go in the same jar, in vinegar and sugar and the beet's own red juice, and they come out that deep color that stains whatever it touches. But eggs are not something you shelf can at home, however much vinegar is in there. That jar lives in the cold and stays in the cold. In this house, they have never lasted long enough for it to be a question. Number 6 is apple butter, and I want to correct the notion that it takes an hour. It takes a day. The kettle goes over the fire in the morning, and somebody is still stirring it when it gets dark, and that somebody is usually the youngest one who can be trusted with a long paddle. Nothing goes in but apples and cider and sugar and spice, and there is no pectin in it and no thickener. The whole of it works because you are boiling water out, hours of it, until the sugar has concentrated and the apple's own acid has come up strong enough that the 2 of them hold the jar together. What comes out is nearly black and will stand a spoon up. Number 7 is peaches and the rest of the tree fruit, and after all that talk of pressure, this is the easy one. Fruit is sour on its own, well under the line, and the boiling water bath is right for all of it. Peaches, pears, plums, cherries, applesauce. If you have never put up a jar in your life, start there and learn the rhythm of it on something that cannot go wrong. Now the second wave, and it needs almost nothing: a crock, a thread, and warm air. Number 8 is sauerkraut. Cabbage shredded fine, and salt at 2 to 2.5 parts in 100 by weight. Weigh the cabbage and weigh the salt, because a pinch and a guess will not do here. Pack it down until its own juice rises over the top, and keep it under that juice the entire time, because anything riding above the brine will spoil, and that is very nearly the only way a crock goes wrong. Hold it between 65 and 75 degrees, and by the second day you will see it working. Here is the part worth understanding, and it is why the salt is not a matter of taste. The salt is not preserving that cabbage, the salt is choosing. At that strength, the spoiling organisms cannot get going, and the ones that make lactic acid can, so they take the crock over, and the acid they make is what actually keeps it. The weight of that salt is you deciding which bacteria get to live in your kitchen, and the cabbage does the rest of the work itself. Number 9 is schnitz. That is our word for apples cut in slices and dried, and it is the word for the dish they end up in. Schnitz und Knepp, dried apples cooked with ham and dumplings, and there is not a family within 20 miles of here that does not make it. The apples get quartered and cored and cut thin, and then they dry on screens in a warm attic or on a rack above the stove until they are leathery and there is no give left in the middle. Then into a sack or a jar, and there they sit, with no seal on them and no cold room needed. Notice what schnitz really is, because it is this whole video sitting in one bowl. The apple comes off the tree in September. The pie is in February. A February table built out of a September apple, and nothing ran to keep it that way. Number 10 is the one I promised you, leather breeches. You take whole green beans, pods and all, young and tender, and you thread a needle and run a strong thread straight through the middle of every pod until you have a string of them 2 feet long. That string hangs in the warmest, airiest place in the kitchen, which in this house is behind the stove, and it hangs there about 3 weeks. They shrink and go gray-green and wrinkled, and that is where the name came from, a row of dried-out trousers on a line. That practice came over from the Palatinate, the same corner of Germany our people came from, and it is called the same thing there, get rocknet bonen, dried beans. When you want them, you soak the string overnight and then simmer them slow about 4 hours with a piece of pork. And here is what nobody warns you about. They do not taste like green beans. Not close. They come out dark and earthy, nearer a mushroom than a bean. It is a different food altogether. It costs 1 thread and 3 weeks of doing nothing, and it wants no jar, no lid, no canner, and no cellar. Number 11 closes the second wave, and it is the cheapest thing on this list. Sweet corn cut off the cob and dried, and the herbs, sage, thyme, mint, savory, cut before they flower and hung in bunches out of the sun. Dried corn keeps for years in a jar with nothing but a lid on it, and an hour in water brings it back sweeter and deeper than it ever was fresh, because everything that was in it is still there with the water gone. This is the oldest way of keeping food there is, older than glass, and it takes no equipment whatever. Now let us go down the steps, because the cellar is where most people lose their winter. Everything up to here was the kitchen, and the kitchen is the part folks are willing to learn. The cellar is where a good August goes to waste. Number 12 is pumpkin and winter squash, and there is a step before the cellar that nearly everybody skips. When they come in from the field, they get cured, left 5 to 10 days somewhere warm, 80 to 85 degrees, which in August is any place with a roof over it and no draft. 2 things happen in those days. The skin hardens off, which is what keeps the rot out, and the starch inside turns to sugar, which is why a cured squash is sweet, and one that went straight from field to cellar is watery. Then, and only then, they go to storage at 50 to 55 degrees. And hear this part, because it runs backwards from what people assume. Squash must not go cold. Below 50 degrees, it takes a chill it cannot recover from, and it will break down on you. That is why squash never shares a room with the carrots. Even done properly, you're looking at 2 to 3 months, which means, and I would rather be honest with you than sell you a cellar that holds everything until spring, the pumpkin will not see March. It will not see February. Squash is November and December, and that is by design. Number 13 is potatoes, and they want the opposite of the squash in nearly every way. They cure as well, but in the dark about 10 days somewhere sheltered while the skins set and the nicks from the digging fork heal over. Then cold and damp, 40 degrees, and air so wet it is nearly at the point of dripping. If that sounds unpleasant to you, that is exactly why a cellar dug into the ground works and a heated basement does not. Kept that way, you get 4 to 7 months out of them, and that is the backbone of the whole winter. 2 rules, neither optional. Full dark because light turns them green, and a green potato is not something to eat. And never in the same room as the apples. Apples give off a gas as they ripen. You cannot smell it, and it goes into the potatoes and tells them it is spring. You will come down in January and find every one of them sprouting and going soft, and you will not know why. It is the apples. Number 14 is onions and garlic, and they are the champions of that cellar. They dry first, 2 weeks in a shed or under a porch roof with the air moving through until the necks are papery and the skins rustle. Then cold and dry, somewhere between freezing and 45 degrees. And dry is the word that matters, because onions and garlic are the only things down there that want it dry. Hung in a mesh sack or braided by the tops, they will go 8 months. Onions from August are still sound in April, and I know of nothing else in that cellar you can say that about. Number 15 is carrots and beets, and they are the reason we keep a barrel of sand. They go into damp sand, layered in so they do not touch, packed in a crate or a barrel, and held at just about freezing with the air nearly wet. 3 to 6 months. The sand does one job and does it well. A carrot left in open air gives up its water in a fortnight and comes out limp as a rag, and damp sand will not let that happen. Carrots pulled in October and buried in sand come out in March, still snapping when you break them. Now stand back and look at the shape of it, because this is what I most want you to carry away, and it took me years to hear it said plainly. A cellar is not a warehouse, it is a relay. Nothing down there is meant to last until spring, and nothing needs to. The squash goes first, through November and December, and by New Year, the last of it is gone. The potatoes and carrots and beets carry the middle of the winter, January and February, which is the stretch that breaks people. The onions run underneath the whole of it. And when March comes and the cellar is nearly bare, what is left standing is exactly the things that never needed the cellar at all. The jars on the shelf, the kraut in the crock, the schnitz in the sack, and that string of beans behind the stove. Each one hands off to the next. That is why 15 and not 3. And while we are being straight with each other, people ask me how many jars a family puts up in a year, and I have heard all sorts of numbers repeated. I will not give you one. I have never seen a count anybody could stand behind, and I would sooner tell you I do not know than make up a number that sounds good. So what is all of this worth? A garden in August gives you more than any family can eat in a week, and nothing at all in February. And every method here is one answer to that one problem. You stop shoveling food into the compost in August. You stop paying in February for beans that came off a boat. And you get a thing that is harder to price, which is a room in your house full of food that needs no power, no line coming in from anywhere, nothing running, and no watching. When the storm comes through and the freezer has turned into a chest full of trouble by the 3rd day, the cellar just sits there, in the dark at 40 degrees, doing what it has done all along. So here is what I would have you do this week, and it is August, so this week is the week. Get acid into every tomato jar you put up, 2 tablespoons of bottled lemon juice, or half a teaspoon of citric acid to the quart. No exceptions, and no judging by taste. Anything mild going into a jar, beans and corn first among them, goes in a pressure canner or does not get canned. And anything pickled can take the boiling water bath. Set a crock of kraut down now, salt weighed, cabbage under its own brine, and it will be ready before the frost. Cut and dry a few pounds of apples and hang 1 string of beans behind the stove just to have done it once. And before you dig a thing up, decide where your cool, damp corner is and where your cool, dry corner is. Squash wants 55 and no colder. Potatoes want 40 and wet and dark. Onions want cold and dry, and the apples want to be nowhere near the potatoes. Now I would like to hear from you. Tell me down in the comments what part of the country you are in and which of these 15 you had never heard of before this morning. I have a notion it will be the beans on a string. And tell me what your grandmother put up that we do not do here, because every valley kept food a little differently. I read them, all of them, and do not let August get away from you. Everything on that counter right now is either supper in February or compost by Friday, and this week to